Oh my gosh, we're live.
Hoping I don't disappoint you,
No,
Kavita.
you're fine. I'm so excited. Why is I just know? Hold on. Somebody called me in the middle of the live. I'm not answering the phone. I'm on live. Okay, thank you for coming on Evolve America, where we evolve America one conversation at a time. And today I have Whitney Griswold Califf, and I'm so excited.
Thank you for having me.
She is a fierce advocate for her community, but also she is the development coordinator for Girl Scouts of Southern Alabama. Sorry, not Central, Southern Alabama. So, Whitney, can you tell us how you got here? Like, how did you start in the nonprofit area?
Really, I think my professional career in the nonprofit sector started in college at Auburn. But I think preceding that, growing up in my household, our parents always encouraged us to just be active participants in the community. So that's really where sort of my commitment to service started, was at home. And really through my parents' actions. My dad was in the National Guard. He's an educator. My mom worked in finance, but always made it a point to serve in a variety of ways in the community. And so, my sister and I witnessed that in our household. It was kind of second nature for us. And then in college, I really had no idea what I wanted to do. Numbers made sense to me, but accounting was just like, oh gosh, I didn't want to, I just kept thinking accounting was going to be, like punching a calculator all day. And that just sounded so boring to me. And I met a lady in human sciences, Sid James Nakjaban, and she just gave me an opportunity to be employed as a student and work for the Women's Philanthropy Board. And really, that was what kind of set me on, my course in the sector. So I kind of owe my whole career to her for giving me my start at Auburn.
Yeah. So did you pursue like a nonprofit degree at Auburn, or?
No, I didn't actually. I was in human sciences for apparel merchandising. Kind of came a long way from that, I guess. But consumer science and like consumer behavior was actually what fascinated me the most. Like what motivates people to do what they do. Why do they make the decisions they make? That can be applicable to why do people make the choices they make when they give.
Right.
So that was the most fascinating thing to me, was the human behavior element of consumer affairs. And the Women's Philanthropy Board, like I said, where I started as a student employee, worked with women and taught them about money at every stage of life and how that making smart fiscal decisions at every stage in life can help you be more philanthropic. You have to make good choices with your money to be able to give back. So, working for that group was really wonderful, and I got the opportunity to write and develop a program that taught teenagers about money and philanthropy. It was based on a class that my boss taught at Auburn called Gender, Wealth, and Philanthropy, that walked college students through every stage of their life financially, from being single to getting married to maybe getting divorced to having kids to being a caregiver. All of that wrapped up into one class. And so we took that model and then, kind of culled it down to teach teenagers about money and philanthropy, called Real Sense, Real Change. Wrote it, did it at the Boys and Girls Clubs in Auburn and Opelika, and then Auburn University trademarked it. And so it's a program that they still run. We took that model, kind of culled it down even more to teach kids ages 6 to 12 about money and philanthropy, and we called that Camp I Care. Again, another program that Auburn trademarked and still runs to this day. So that was kind of how I came into this, was outreach and writing a program and then executing it every week. So fundraising came later for me, and having to talk to donors about why this program is important, what it could do. That's where the fundraising came in for me. It was a little bit later in my career. So
right. So with philanthropy, how did you decide to? You said you were the student employee of the Women's Philanthropy Board. What was it about philanthropy and like anything else? But you were just like, were you drawn to it, or was it just an opportunity? Like, talk me through that.
It was an opportunity, and I think a lot of times, like when you say philanthropy, you think of like, people writing $1 million checks. And yes, that is the case with a lot of the wonderful donors that I got to work with. But when you start teaching teenagers about money, it's about budgeting, what, getting a small paycheck might look like, helping them understand what bills might look like if they go to work right after high school, if they go into the military, if they go to college, like helping them understand what groceries cost. I mean, the reality of money in an everyday real life situation. So that was what fascinated me the most, was how we could make money and talking about money easy to understand for everybody and meet them where they were.
Right.
That was what drew me in, was the outreach, the connecting to somebody on a weekly basis, working with them, helping them grow. That was really what drew me in, was the people aspect.
So. Yeah. So then, like, I feel like anybody that's trying to get any kind of money, that wouldn't be the easiest thing to do, right?
Yeah. It is hard. It's what do they teach you in the South? Never talk about money, religion, or politics. Mm-hmm. So then trying to talk to teenagers about money is and asking them, okay, follow whoever's buying the groceries in your house, follow them in the grocery store and understand what it actually costs to have food in your house every week. Or those new Jordans that you want, do you know how much money they're costing somebody? Right. Getting them to track their spending was hard, but then when they did it, they're like, oh my gosh, somebody is, really putting out a lot of effort for me to have the things I want to have.
Right.
So it gave them a better understanding of what it's going to take to continue to have those same things.
Right.
We worked with them on kind of blended into what getting a job would look like if they were in high school, what the next stage of their life, if that's military, college, trade school, whatever that looked like next, helping them accomplish that next step. I mean, money is one of the things that very few people teach you how to be financially responsible or even talk to you about money, but then you get that first paycheck and you're like, oh, okay, well, now what do I do? Because there's no class in school, and really at Auburn, gender wealth and philanthropy was one of the few things that was teaching you the real life things you needed to know. What are your benefits going to look like when you have to start thinking about retirement? How do you make those decisions? What is why do you have to have insurance? Why does that matter?
Right.
And applying that to every individual. It was very gratifying to walk through those real life scenarios with people, because, it's different for everybody. And so for individuals to feel in control of the choices they were making, I think was super important. So,
right. So I'm interested to know, because I'm pretty sure you have kids that are, I wouldn't say not disobedient, but kids that are kind of I don't want to learn that. How do you take that no, how are you able to just connect with them and eventually get them to do it?
So when we started the program, we were working with anywhere from the age of 13 to 18.
Mm-hmm.
So that's a pretty, when you're talking about terms of money or job or what their career goals or college goals might look like, that's a pretty diverse group. I mean, you're working with kids in junior high to potentially a senior in high school. Drastically different goals there. But because we were working with kids at the Boys and Girls Club, this was a once a week thing. And initially, I really think they kind of stayed because we had dinner.
Mm-hmm.
And it was like, oh, there's going to be food. Yeah, we'll come. So just working with them, encouraging them to come back, showing them that, we had one student, Daquan Piner, who I still get to track on Facebook, who told us he started when he was 15. That he wanted to be a chef. Okay, that's cool. That's what he wanted to do. We connected him with Miguel, who was the chef at the hotel at Auburn University at the time. Mm-hmm. He was in Montgomery for a little bit, went back to Auburn. We got Miguel to invite him into the kitchen, show him what a working kitchen looked like, all the different jobs. Mm-hmm. Daquan really figured out how he was going to what the next step for him was going to be. Went to culinary school in Atlanta when he graduated from Auburn High School, and now has been in Colorado and Atlanta and all these places. He's a chef.
Yeah.
So it was really about setting kids up and helping them accomplish whatever it was their goal was next.
Yeah.
And again, just like your money, that's different for everybody. So helping him think through the financial aspect of what's it going to cost me to go to college? What's it going to cost for me to live in a place that out of state, because he lived in Alabama, what's it going to cost for him to be out of state? Right. All of those things. I'm so proud of him because we got to see kids come full circle,
right,
and do what they wanted to do.
Right. Exactly. So I hear a common theme in the work that you do, it's with kids. So what why children? Out of all the people to work with, why children? What is it about kids where you're like, that is where like I want to be?
I don't know. I guess it's exciting that they're the future,
Yeah.
and it just, yeah, sure, teenagers can be a little bit more frustrating, but also some of that frustration comes from just wanting somebody to invest in them, give them the time of day, be consistent in their life. I wasn't a teacher at school, so I wasn't like an authoritarian in that regard, but we were invested in their well-being, and we wanted to see them excel, no strings attached. I mean, I'm not one mom, dad, grandmother, whoever, so not invested in that regard, but I wanted to see them be successful. And so I think for me, teenagers was just a great demographic because they knew something exciting was coming, and just showing that we cared and we wanted to see them be successful in whatever it was they wanted to do. Something about that group just resonated with me.
Right. So would that be like another reason? I know about the work you did at Lanier High School here in Montgomery. Yeah. Would that be a reason why you participated so much in our high school, just because the kids are the future and you see so much?
And I do think in terms of like the community that you live in, teenagers are the next group to take the torch in terms of our leadership. If we're not listening to them and their ideas, we're really doing ourselves a disservice, because 10 years from now, they're going to be who are making the decisions in our city government, in our nonprofits, in our police department, wherever it may be. They're going to be the ones that are making those decisions. They're entering the workforce. So we need to engage them in the process now. I think that's really important, to make them know that their voices are heard and they're valued, because they're the future of our community. And I want to know that they have my best interest at heart too.
Definitely. So I'm interested to know, like, what is something so far that you have learned through these children? At least one thing. I know it's many things, but what is something that stuck with you?
I think probably something that my parents instilled in me, and you see it in kids. You can accomplish anything that you're willing to work for. And that's different for everybody. Everybody's goals are different. You can accomplish and do the things you want to do if you're willing to work for it.
Right.
And so that's it. I mean, kids are ambitious.
Right.
It's adults and life scenarios that keep them from accomplishing what they want. Right. So I think just being a positive reinforcement and a reminder to them that if you're willing to get up and work for it, the opportunities are endless. But you got to go out and work for it. You got to get it.
Right. You got to.
I mean, that's real.
You got to get it.
Reality,
I mean, that's real. Yeah. You got to get it. So it is what it is.
Yeah. And kids will. They're ambitious,
They are. They're extremely brave and like willing to do what needs to be done in a way,
Rika's directing me. I'm not talking into my mic the right way.
I'm sorry. Oh, we gotta do Rico.
There you go.
I'm not a pro.
There you go.
Is that better? Okay. Thank you.
So, okay, let's go back to after Women's Philanthropy Board.
Right.
Where did you go next?
I came back to Montgomery. Well, I say back to Montgomery. I grew up in Millbrook, so Montgomery was not home for me. But I came back to Montgomery. I worked for an arts organization in a development role. And then I got to work for two sort of umbrella organizations of the community that raise money for a variety of organizations that serve tons of people in our community. So I came back to Montgomery. There was all this momentum. There was Emerge. There were all these cool things happening downtown. Montgomery was sort of really like coming into its own. There was all this. I mean, I remember when I left Millbrook for college, I was like getting out of Dodge, but nothing was incentivizing me to come back. Right. But like there was something exciting happening in the city at the time, that there was all this potential for what Montgomery could be. People were coming back. They were starting families here. The potential to be young and like have breakfast with the mayor once a month and share your ideas, and all of it was here, and it's in the capital. So to be a part of that was super exciting and cool. So that was that was kind of what brought me back. My family is here. And so it was exciting to be 30 minutes away, not necessarily right where they are.
Right.
But I was, excited to be closer to my family. So that was kind of what brought me back.
Yeah. And so then when you came back, that's when you got started at Lanier, right? Or what?
Yeah.
What time was that?
Because I didn't grow up in Montgomery, I didn't know a whole lot about the public school system, but all I heard from pretty much like everybody in town was the school system is bad. Schools are terrible. And I'm like, okay, but what does that mean exactly?
Yeah.
Like, I don't help me understand.
Right.
And so I honestly, I can't remember if I met Dr. Antonio Williams or Ms. QB Ray Hayes first. One of them was the entry point for me at Lanier. It's the high school down the street from me. It's my neighborhood school. And so I just really got tired of hearing people say like the schools are terrible, just negative. And like, I wanted to know why people were saying that. And it became harder for me to understand why people kept saying the schools were terrible when I met people who were so incredibly talented at what they do, and so invested in the kids and the educators who walk in and out of their doors every day. Now, there are challenges, funding challenges, and a variety of other things, certainly, that impact the school system. But getting to know somebody like Antonio Williams, who got his PhD here in Montgomery, is a Lanier alum, decided to go back and be principal of the high school he went to, focused his PhD in like school turnaround and was doing that. Like, that's really cool.
Right.
And I don't think we should be discrediting the work that he's doing. Miss QB, like anybody that knows her knows she has her hands in anything and everything across town,
right,
and is doing everything she can to make life better for the students who go to Lanier.
Right.
So they were really engaging to me from the start. And, if you know Miss QB, you don't tell her no if she asks you, like you're doing something for her. So they were really the entry point for me at Lanier. And then it just sort of became a sense of pride of like, I'm in this. This is my neighborhood high school. It started like going to the football games and then kind of blossomed from there.
Yeah, Whitney is the biggest Lanier fan I know. And my mama went to Lanier High School. You hear me? My mama graduated. I'm not going to put what class. I'll just say like class of 14. I don't know. I don't want to put my mom's age out there. But you were the, she's young, but I'm not going to put her out there like that.
Don't put her on blast.
You're a bigger fan than her, though. That was my point. Like, I remember you made the, what did you make for the football games?
Oh, we made fat heads of all the seniors. So Dr. Williams suggested that to do something fun to like make the seniors feel excited and like, people were interested in what was going on. So we got their pictures, made fat heads. And I'm sure Antonio regretted that because I also made one of him, and his daughters had a field day with that at football games. So that one we still have. Like, it just will reappear occasionally at a football game because it's too good to get rid of.
Right.
So I don't know. I mean, it's simple stuff like that. That's not really that hard. But if it makes a kid look up from the football field on a Friday night and be like, oh my gosh, somebody's made a fat head.
Right.
That's not. I mean, that does sound kind of crazy now that I'm saying it out loud, but we would give them to the students and like they had fun with it. It was a way to like cheer for their classmates and, show that they're invested in what they're doing. And so I think they had a good time with it. Right.
I thought it was cute. I hadn't seen anything like that.
Yeah. I'm sure Antonio didn't think it was cute when he saw his fat head floating around, but his girls got a good laugh out of it.
So from the work at Lanier and you've done so much. I don't even know where to start. Whitney is being extremely humble. She's an extremely humble person, but she does a lot. And I'm kind of going to put her on the spot because I wanted to talk about everything that she's So after Lanier, what did you do from Lanier and in between now with Girl Scouts?
So Lanier's always just been volunteering, helping where I could. Like I said, it's down the street, so it's easy to meet a need when they call and say, we have a specific need for this, or Miss QB's trying to get different people plugged in or connected, or just inviting people to come be engaged and participate in what they're doing. It's just been kind of a sidebar. Like, we should be invested again in the future of our community, which the closest future we have is right there in high school.
Right.
But I came to Girl Scouts right before the world shut down with COVID.
Yeah.
I started in January of 2020 and got my first event, which was Advocacy Day. You were there at the State House. I appreciate you participating in that. Got my first event done on March the 12th, I think, and then our office closed the following Monday.
Yeah.
So
that was the last time. That was.
Yeah.
Before the world shut down.
Yeah. So that was my first event and really my last one for the last year. So it's been an interesting time to start a new job, especially in fundraising, because so much of that is based on relationships and contacts and networking. And when there were no events to go to or people were just connecting virtually, it's really hard for a lot of the girls that we work with too, because Girl Scouts is a great outlet for them outside of school.
Right.
So to have to meet with people virtually when they're already doing virtual school, we had to get real creative on how we could deliver programs and what that looked like. So my role kind of shifted more towards writing grants than what I would normally do, which is helping, with events, doing, if it's fundraising events or doing things like Advocacy Day, where girls were at the State House and learning about their government and how they can be involved in that, how they can connect to people who represent them. They can hear from people like you and what, your background in grassroots organizing and stuff like this, the podcast. You just launched the podcast too, which is really cool. So we had to get creative on how do we connect girls to experiences that help them grow as individuals.
Right.
And how do we raise money for an organization when the world shuts down? So It's been an interesting first year. I hope the second year is going to be better than the first one. Fully vaccinated, so that's a step. We're slowly getting there. But yeah, it's been an interesting time, but I'm really excited to be here and be a part of the work that Girl Scouts is doing.
Definitely. So can you talk me through because my sister was a Girl Scout and I know how intense cookie season can be. How is it operating right now? We're sitting in a room full of boxes of cookies right now. So I'm supposed to be doing right. Can I buy a box of cookies after this?
So our cookie sale is over. But if you do want to buy individual boxes, people can come to our office in Montgomery or Mobile and buy some individual boxes.
Okay.
The cookie sale is from January to March. So we've just kind of wrapped up. This that you're seeing in the room is what's left. And so we'll be donating these to different nonprofits in town. Our Mobile office donates to different nonprofits and groups down in the southern part of the state. But yeah, it's a little intimidating when an 18-wheeler full of cookies rolls up and you're helping unload it, and then people are coming to pick up. And cookie season is no joke, because girls and their troops, they are running small businesses.
Yeah.
They project how many they're going to sell. They project based on where they have booths set up, how many they want to pick up for that week. It's a real deal business. So when girls are out there asking you to buy cookies, even if you don't want to buy a cookie, the girls are figuring out very early how to deal with rejection, what that looks like from a business owner standpoint. Yeah. So I think a lot of people just think, oh, it's cute, girls are selling cookies again. When you buy Girl Scout cookies, you are supporting girls accomplish entrepreneurial dreams. I mean, they are running a business, and that money stays with their troop so that they can do different activities as a group. They can do things like camp. In 2 years, they're going to get to do a big trip to Disney World. So when you buy cookies, it helps them support that so that they can do that at no cost to them. Right.
So a quick question. How do you handle rejection? Because you talked about you're teaching the other girls, so you gotta
my parents would tell you that no is not in my vocabulary.
Yeah.
I'm a little stubborn and hard-headed. So my dad always tells people that he's fascinated that the child that didn't take no figured out how to find a career where no is just normal. And so for every yes, I've probably heard 20 no's. So like it doesn't, I use it as a motivator, really. Like if you tell me no, okay, great. I'm going to figure out a way to work around you and get what I want, even if I have to go to 30 other people to make it happen. So
Right.
I use it as a motivator. It doesn't mean that no's aren't disappointing, because they certainly are.
Yeah.
But like if you write grants and you ask people for sponsorships and you fundraise for a living, like you hear no way more than you hear yes.
Right.
It's just, it comes with the territory.
Right. So in other words, you really don't believe in it.
No. I mean, I do, because I hear it, but it's just a motivator for me, really.
Right. It's just like, okay, like I can do this.
Yeah.
Like that's no for now, but
yeah. Right.
I'm gonna do it.
This is just a jumping off point for negotiations later, right? Like this is not actually a no. You don't really mean that. You just mean I'm going to come back to you later
Right.
for something else. That's how I think about it.
So I found it very interesting that you started off at the Women's Philanthropy Board and you were teaching children how to like manage money and kind of like Girl Scouts. Right now you're doing the same thing, but it's like a focus again on women.
Yeah.
Can you talk about like how you're using that? And what, like, obviously that was, I don't know how long ago. I'm not going to put you on Front Street, but I don't know how long ago from Women's Philanthropy Board, being a student worker there to, oh wait, do I have to move it? Oh wait. From being a student worker there to now here. I'm sure demographics were not the same. I'm sure there were some differences. So could you speak on that?
Definitely.
Thank you, Rico.
Well, I got to work with kids at the Women's Philanthropy Board through the program that I was running. The vast majority of our members and who allowed us to operate, our donors, were adult women, much older than me at the time. So it was definitely a different group, although our donors, obviously at Girl Scouts, most of whom are adults, working with kids on a more regular basis while I don't work in a full-time outreach position here. It is different. It's different, especially because Girl Scouts, while people often only think about cookie season because that is when girls are most visible in our community, they do Girl Scouts 365 days a year, and so right now, as we're coming off of, kids being able to be back in school, we're going into summer camp season. So there are a lot of girls who have sold cookies all year, and that's going to help them go to summer camp.
Right.
So they'll kind of get to focus on just being outside and being disconnected, because we've all been so plugged into technology in the last year, which has been great in terms of being connected, but also like can really, really burn you out. Right. So as we kind of shift from summer camp, we'll move back in more to our traditional programs where we're focused on STEM activities for girls. Right. You name it, Girl Scouts has a badge for it. So too, finding individuals and businesses in our community who want to partner with us to provide programs to girls. Something we've talked about recently that we saw another council do was Women in Trucking. They did this big Women in Trucking event. And so 4-Star Freightliner here in Montgomery and the Alabama Trucking Association were great sponsors during cookie season, purchased Hometown Heroes cookies and then got to donate those.
Oh, wow.
So now trying to reconnect with them and say, like, how can we highlight women in the trucking industry? Yeah. Because again, a lot of what Girl Scouts does is about exposure for girls. Exactly. Opening their eyes to new opportunities or careers, like at Advocacy Day, letting girls hear from grassroots organizers, hear from elected officials, hear from lobbyists, opening their eyes to potential careers or even just hobbies that might interest them, because exposure is important, right? Right.
Because I'm sure, like, when you were working with Women's Philanthropy Board, it wasn't a lot of women, like, who were in these businesses, was it? Was it hard to find women who were in these, you don't hear a lot of women in trucking. You don't hear, it's plenty of male-dominated businesses that you don't hear women in.
Right. And even, I mean, not that long ago, I can remember when I was growing up, and certainly now it's a little bit different, but there's still a huge push to engage women in STEM, right? Yeah. Women engineers, women in coding.
Mhm.
So a lot of what we do is geared towards helping girls think about there are things you can do just because maybe you don't see somebody in a very visible role doing something. It doesn't mean that you can't do it.
Right.
So finding those people, figuring out how do we provide a program that's interesting to our girls, and maybe they don't walk away going, okay, that's what I want to be, but maybe they do, and
Yeah, maybe
that's
they
really
do.
cool too. So a lot of what I get to do with my boss Alicia is identify those partnerships, figure out how we can bring more people to the table to say, like, we want to see girls do whatever it is that they want to do.
Right.
What do they want to accomplish? Let's help them do it.
Right.
And if we can do that from simple program exposure, like, let's do it.
Yeah. What's been the most interesting job that you found to recruit?
Oh man, that's a hard one. I think if we can make something with women in trucking happen, that will be really cool, because there are women that do it.
Yeah, for sure.
And talking at 4-star, women who are diesel mechanics, there aren't many, but like there are women who do that. So
Right.
helping girls understand, like, maybe if you want to work with your hands and science makes sense to you, like that's something you could think about.
Right.
And we have a 2-year college here in Montgomery that you can go to. You could start before you've graduated high school.
Mhm.
You could go to Trenum or any other community college in the state, and you could be working before half the people finish high school, finish their freshman year of college.
Right.
So helping girls think about different things like that, I think is really cool. But I don't know, the number of careers that are out there. I think girls through Advocacy Day getting to see the variety of careers in the political realm
Mhm.
is really cool, because that's helping girls understand that they can step into and use their voice in a variety of ways that maybe they didn't think about. I know, now there are women on the Supreme Court. That's not new, but
Right.
a woman vice president is obviously, Madam Vice President is obviously new.
Right.
So that's something that, like, there were women in politics when I was growing up, and there were more when you were growing up, because you're younger than me. But helping girls understand how to advocate for change in the political realm, if they want to do that in their community, if they want to do it in their school, if they want to do it in their neighborhood, their community, whatever that looks like, helping them see women who are in similar positions is really important. I mean, representation matters. So let's show girls that if you want to do it, there's somebody who probably is doing it, and let's connect you. Let's help you understand what path they took to get to where they are. Because when I was a kid, I certainly never thought I was going to be a fundraiser. I didn't know anybody that worked at a nonprofit. I certainly didn't know anybody who was a development officer anywhere. That was like not a thing I ever thought about, ever.
Right.
Something happened for me when, a woman invested in me at Auburn, and an organization gave me a chance that made me think, like, this is something I can do and I might be good at it.
Right.
So the sooner we can give kids, and especially for me, the interest is especially in girls now, right. I think the better.
Right. I totally agree. So that's like a lot of inspiration, because you said that, the job that you have now, like, it wasn't a thing growing up. You didn't hear about it. So like, what are just some inspirational things that have just kept you pushing through to kind of, in a way, not kind of, but like you definitely are like building a bridge that wasn't there, opening the door for another young woman to come in and do what you're doing.
I mean, I hope so.
Yeah.
And it's not that the job wasn't here, is I didn't know about it. I didn't know anybody who did it. So I didn't know what the trajectory to getting here would look like. I just, because, my parents went to college, I thought going to college was the right thing. And then, like, maybe college was going to help me figure out what I wanted to do. Because I didn't know, I didn't know I wanted to be an accountant. I didn't know that I wanted to be a doctor. I didn't have some like set career in mind.
Right.
But I was fortunate in college to figure out what I wanted to do and then kind of roll with it from there. The first job was not where I am now. Figuring out how to roll with the punches kind of helped. And I think the more that we can encourage kids that like you don't have to have it all figured out, because who really does,
Who
right?
really does? Yeah, that's true. Who
I
really
think,
does?
Just like being flexible and learning to grow personally and professionally from your job, from the good and the bad, is important, and probably something we don't talk to kids enough about. I think that has kind of landed me where I am, being able to like roll with the punches. And even in a bad work environment or a not great situation, trying to figure out what can I learn from this to be better? Like, what can I take away from this?
Right. Even switching that perspective.
Yeah, right. Even if it's just like, I know I never want to manage like you. Like, that's still something we can learn, right?
Yes, so, I agree.
I think I got off topic.
No, you're right. You're right. I was gonna ask I'm gonna say 3. Who are like 3 women that inspire you?
Definitely, just 3.
Just how many you got? I
got a whole host of women.
Okay, let's do 5. Let's do 6. That makes it even. Let's do 6.
Honestly, I'm very fortunate in this regard, and I know I'm very fortunate in this regard, and I'm very thankful. Like at home, my family, the women in my family.
Yeah.
Both of my grandmothers, when they were alive, one was like a pistol and very strong-willed, and I got to see her service to the community through the Kidney Foundation. She helped run, their golf tournaments and their walkathons, and that was sort of her retirement job. And she was a kidney transplant recipient, so she made that like her passion, was to help other individuals, if they needed dialysis, help them with the cost of dialysis, whatever it was. She wanted to help kidney patients or dialysis patients get the help they needed. So, she was hardcore, but she was an awesome role model for me. And my other grandmother was that, in just like a much more demure, I think, Southern way. She was very fiscally responsible. Like if you owed her $9.81, she had it written down somewhere, and she was gonna remind you. She wanted her
$9.81.
She was gonna remind you. So she was assertive in like a different way. And my mom certainly, like my dad was deployed after 9/11, and so my mom ran a household with 2 teenagers, and she was an executive at a bank, and when I couldn't drive, would take me to like tumbling practice and all these other things, and make our breakfast and pack our lunches and all this stuff. And now as an adult, I'm like, when I leave work, go home and want to put on the sweatpants as fast as I can. And my mom was like running before the sun was up, went to work all day, came home, would cart us around. I'm like,
doing it.
How in the heck did you do all of that? Like, when does she do it? So I'm very fortunate in that regard, that like they were all really, really unique, but really strong and assertive women, and in very different ways. But then so many of the women that I have worked for have really poured into and invested and mentored me in my career. I talked a little bit about Sid James at Auburn. She was the first woman who kind of gave me a shot, right? Like she helped me figure out that this would be a career path for me and what that would look like. I still can't believe that she let me write and develop curriculum for a program that then she believed in so much. She got grant funding for, and the university trademarked. I think back on that, I'm like, God, would I trust somebody that much? But, I mean, like she like believed in me enough to do that. She helped me critique it where it needed to be critiqued.
And how old were you then?
I mean, my early 20s.
Yeah.
So
that's a heavy responsibility.
Yeah. And then she let me execute it. And I'm still like, oh my gosh. And Miss Wanda Lewis, who was at the Boys and Girls Club, she's now since retired. Same thing. Like, man, they believed me. Yeah, they really did. And I'm so thankful for that, because it gave me the confidence that I needed to like, I can do this.
Right. Like, I got this.
Yeah. And, there have been other women that I've worked for that have certainly invested in me in the same way. But now here at Girl Scouts, really the reason I came here was my boss, Alicia Snyder. I got to work with her before. And when the opportunity to work with her again became available, I jumped at it, because our personalities are drastically different. Like, we're both fundraisers, but we work really well together, and I really enjoy working for her, because sort of the same thing, like she gives me the freedom to try things and to be bold and to do different things.
Right.
But she also trusts me to do my job. She doesn't micromanage. She encourages me when I need to be encouraged. She helps me kind of stay on track. And I think that's really important, to know that you're valued as a team member, but also that like somebody trusts you enough to do things. I'm not sure if that's like sink or swim. We're just gonna like throw you out there, but
no, this
I respond well to that. So I've been really fortunate in that regard. And I think, okay, you said I could have 5, so I'm gonna pick one more. I think I'm going over.
No, I said 6.
Okay.
No, you have
6.
to hold on. Both of your grandmas, your mom, Miss Sid James, Miss Wanda. Yeah.
All the women.
One more.
I have to say, and you got to work with Jackie, but Jackie Johnson.
Yes, she is amazing.
So amazing.
I gotta call her.
So amazing. I was texting with her earlier today. Her daughter is a senior at Brewtech this year, and is going to be a freshman at Alabama State studying STEM. So I'm really excited. Nina is our future.
That is so exciting.
Jackie was just, again, somebody who could be like really just like a quiet storm, kind of like, really good at what she did, worked well with a variety of people, and just takes no crap, which like I really appreciate. Women who know how to use their voice and aren't afraid to do it.
Right.
So I think
that's 6. Did you want to add to it?
I mean, Joyce is sitting in the room. Joyce should be acknowledged.
Joyce!
Another woman who has found her way into a very... She's embarrassed.
Joyce is extremely inspiring.
Another woman, though, that's found her way in a very interesting career in sort of a male-dominated industry.
For real, though. For real.
Okay, now she's mad.
Are you talking about me?
Yes!
Oh, that's so sweet.
But I'm really lucky. There are a lot of women in my life. You're younger than me, but like you're so all over the place. I can't keep up with all of the like things that you're doing. Like how y'all set all this up. I'm just like, I can't do this. Like Nicole King. Think about Nicole King. She owns her own business. Like she does ministry. Like what doesn't she do?
Right.
I mean, there's so many women in our community. I think some in more public facing positions, so more people know them, but there are so many women doing Michelle Browder. Like, I mean, the list goes on, right? Like we could get Kenesha Brown.
Yes.
Ashley Jernigan. Like how many people really just doing incredible things, whether people know it's happening or not. Like they're doing the work, and it's creating change in our community. So
right. I agree.
Yeah.
So can you tell us what are some amazing things that are going to take place for the rest of the year for Girl Scouts, or what to look out for?
So in June, we will have our Leading Ladies event.
Okay.
So we're accepting nominations right now. So if there are women in the community that you think are doing incredible things, you can go to our website and nominate them to be acknowledged at our luncheon in June. It costs nothing for you to nominate them. It's just a really cool way for women who are doing important things in our community to be acknowledged and recognized. That's important for girls to see, that women make change in our community, and we want to acknowledge that. So that'll be in June. So we are accepting those nominations now. We have until May 14th to nominate someone. So I would encourage people to do that.
Where do they go?
girlscoutssa.org.
Okay.
And I don't know if I'm actually allowed to talk about this yet or not, but I'm going to. So there's that. In October, we are going to have an adult camping event at Camp Kiwanis, which is on Lake Martin.
What?
Yeah. So it's going to be for women.
And I'm so excited.
Yeah. So we're going to do all the camp activities that you would do. So zip lining, canoeing, arts and crafts, if you want to do arts and crafts.
Oh my goodness.
There might be some adult beverage sampling paired with cookies.
Yes.
There might be that because it's Girl Scout camp. So
Right.
we thought it would be fun to bring back. It won't be glamping because it won't be super glamorous and over the top, but it will be fun to like go
Dang.
spend a night at the lake and have fun. Learn how to build a campfire. Like
Oh,
do
I'm
the
going.
things
I'm
that
going.
girls do at
I'm
summer
going.
camp.
Yeah.
So we're gonna test the waters with that this fall.
Yeah.
So in October, people can be on the lookout for a date for that. So we're super excited about that. I think it'll be a fun thing to do.
I'm
So,
super excited. I mean, I want to learn how to build a campfire because I think I know how to build one, but
yeah, but do you?
what's that
Could you
thing?
if you had to?
No, I can't.
Right,
'cause
but
I
it's a
don't-
life skill. So like, if you go, you
Right.
can be confident that you do know how to build a campfire.
You're right. I have that thing that you buy at the store and you put the wood in it. What is that called? The outside. Nobody knows what I'm talking about. The outside fireplace.
Oh,
It's you buy it at Home Depot,
you don't have that luxury at camp.
and I buy the 5-minute. Oh, I keep hitting my headphones on this. The 5-minute wood. Or
Oh, the
whatever.
like starter.
The starter wood, and then
Yeah.
like I throw real wood on top of the starter wood. I
We'll
don't
teach
try
you how
to.
do a real campfire. You
Yeah.
can do archery too. If you ever
Oh.
want to shoot a bow and arrow,
Oh,
there's
yeah.
that.
Oh,
Throw a
yeah.
hatchet.
Yeah. I like
Safely
that.
throw a hatchet. There's a police officer in the room. Safely
Oh,
throw a hatchet.
yeah, I forgot. We got a police officer.
Safely use a bow and arrow. Safety first, obviously. Yeah.
Right. So, and is that all the events, or is it?
No, so we'll have more like girl opportunities, but I thought for adults, those are kind of the big two that are jumping out at me right now. So
Yay.
Yeah.
Well, that is so exciting.
yeah.
Is there anything else you want to say before we kind of close up?
No, I mean, thanks for the opportunity.
No,
I hope I didn't
thank
put
you for
anybody
it.
to sleep. I was worried that I might.
Put somebody to sleep. How? No. Whitney, thank you so much for joining me on Evolve America.
Thanks for
I
having me.
appreciate it. Because I thought, I didn't know if you were going to say yeah. I was like, I feel like, I don't know, I'm just going to ask. And if you were going to say no, I was going to wait. And I was going to be like, I was going to be like, she said no right now, but I'm going to ask like next month. So I'm so glad you came on.
Thanks for having me.
I appreciate it from the bottom of my heart. So thank you so much for coming on Evolve America. We Evolve America, one conversation at a time. And that is it. I will see everyone next Thursday at 6:30. We'll be here. All right. Bye, y'all.